A world without government, often termed anarchy in its purest sense, would be a radically different and likely chaotic place, though proponents of anarchism often envision a more cooperative, self-regulated society. Historically, most human societies existed without formal state structures for much of our existence, but these were typically small, localized groups. Infrastructure collapse, roads, bridges, public utilities, and communication networks would degrade rapidly without centralized funding, planning, and maintenance. Imagine widespread power outages, undrinkable water, and impassable roads. No public education or healthcare. Schools and hospitals, as public institutions, would cease to exist. Education and healthcare would become entirely privatized, accessible only to those who could afford it, or provided by small, localized community efforts that might struggle with resources. Lack of public safety, police, fire departments, and emergency medical services would disappear. Security would rely on self-defense, private militias, or community watch groups, leading to fragmented and potentially unequal protection. Crime rates could skyrocket without a common legal framework or enforcement body. Resource scarcity and conflict. Access to essential resources like food, water, and energy would become a major source of conflict. Without a system for equitable distribution or conflict resolution, localized struggles over resources could escalate. Localized governance, society might devolve into small, self-sufficient communities or tribes. These groups might establish their own informal rules and means of protection, but large-scale cooperation would be incredibly difficult. Trust would be paramount, and betrayal could have severe consequences. Rise of warlords, strongmen in the power vacuum. Charismatic or powerful individuals or groups might emerge to exert control over certain territories, leading to oppressive regimes akin to feudal systems or warlordism. Protection would come at a price, often in the form of absolute loyalty or resources. Global anarchy. Without national governments, the concept of nation-states would dissolve. International law, treaties, and organizations like the UN would cease to function. The world would become a collection of fragmented territories, constantly vying for resources and power. Constant warfare, large-scale, organized warfare, would likely be replaced by frequent, localized conflicts between competing groups or factions. Without any overarching authority to prevent or mediate disputes, violence would be a primary means of resolving disagreements. While some anarchist philosophies envision voluntary cooperation and mutual aid flourishing in the absence of coercive authority, the practical reality for a large, complex global society is that the void left by government would likely be filled by disorder, violence, and the rise of informal, often oppressive power structures. The existing infrastructure and services that underpin modern life would quickly crumble, returning humanity to a more primitive and perilous existence.